And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, and Rochelle is traveling today, and so she's not going to be here. Although I wish she was, because she can learn about this topic as well. We've got a gentleman by the name of Phillip Lanier. He is going to talk about money and how to help you understand money, because nobody ever tells you that until it's way too late, and you don't get that in school or anything like that. So we're going to talk to him right now. Stay with us, everybody. There's a moment in every life when you decide to rise,
to stand taller than your fear,
to speak louder than your doubt,
to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire.
This is that moment. And here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire,
and truths that set you free.
This is Positive Talk Radio with Kevin
and with Rochelle,
where hope has a voice.
And that voice
is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. Like I mentioned at the top, we've got a great guest for you today. So go get on the phone, call your friends and family, because there's something that we're going to talk about that a lot of people don't know anything about, and it can be a really negative thing if you don't know how to handle money, how it works, how to make it work for you, not against you, and all of that. Phillip Lanier is with us, and his story is really quite special. So I'm going to let him tell it. He started out, he was born with, and his mom was 16 years old. I don't even know how that happened. Anyway, so Phillip, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great fun to have you here, because you've got quite a story, quite a life, haven't you?
I have. That's what I'm told. To me, it was just the life, but but some people seem fascinated with it because it's been a wild ride, to be honest.
Well, yeah, and it started out with you and your mom, who was a single mom at 16, and then school was not your thing as much as you might think, or was it?
It wasn't really. It was a good place to get a nice warm meal, but I didn't. I didn't do well. I became quite fond of the rectangular pizzas, but that's about it.
Well, but I believe that everybody starts off someplace in life and ends up in a completely different place. My story, I kicked around on a bunch of jobs that I really didn't like very much, and then I went to work in a restaurant and was a graveyard dishwasher at Denny's, and I ended up being a national sales manager for a food company, and over time. So you ended up kicking around and doing a bunch of stuff, and then you found a shovel and construction. Tell us about that.
I will, but since you mentioned that, I'm going to have to let you know I was a fellow Denny's employee. I was a cook on third shift for a little while, a year or so. So yeah, the Grand Slam special, I cranked out a lot of those. But
I remember, I'm old enough to remember when the Grand Slam was developed, and it was $2.99 then. I went by a Denny's just the other day, and now it's on sale for $10.99.
Oh, wow. Wow. Even Denny's moved up. That's great. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So, and by the way, I was a cook on third shift for a period of time as well. And of course, there's a lot of side work to do and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. And the day guy always came in. I hope you had a nice day guy that relieved you, because the day guy that relieved me was always unhappy with the work that I did.
That's how it always is. That's how it always is.
But tell us about your construction career. How did that come about? Because you didn't know anything about it when you started.
I didn't. So I moved out of my house, I think before I finished high school, just because it wasn't a great environment. And so I moved out, and Denny's was one of the 20 jobs I had before I accidentally started a business. I worked at Denny's. I sampled a moving company. I sampled a warehouse work. I worked at a gutter company for several years. But it's interesting. I'm a man of faith, Kevin, and I believe God placed me in this one engineering firm as a laborer, and I ended up that job from all the low level jobs I had before put me around a different type of people that I had previously put myself around. So I was around engineers and people that just thought differently than the people I surrounded myself with. And so to speed up to how I got into the construction industry, the recession of 2003, me and my wife were honestly too poor to know what a recession was, but I noticed my hours went from like 70 hours a week down to like 15. And at $12 an hour, that's just not a lot of fun. I reached out to a construction manager that I had met from the engineering firm work. And I said, "Hey, we're getting really skinny. We need some we need some work." And he says, come out to my construction site." He was a track builder, one of those production builders. He said, "Come
Uh-huh.
out. Our sites are just an absolute mess." He said, "Come out and start picking up the trash on the construction sites, the shingle wrappers and the 2x4s and things like that." And I said, "How much do you have to do?" And he said, "As much as you could imagine." And I was like, "That's good enough for me." So I quit, put in my 2 weeks notice, and then I started picking up all the lumber and debris. And the reason we did that was they would mass grade 20 or 30 or 40 acres. And then they would start spot building houses, as they would put in the streets. And the sites were just a mess. And then the people that wanted to buy the houses or were having a house built, they would come walk on the weekends and they would trip over the lumber, trip over all the debris. So we would clean up. And but one day something really, really cool happened. Around construction sites, there's a little fabric fence that goes around construction sites called a silt fence. If you're familiar with it, keeps the mud from washing off the sites.
Yep.
So the construction manager, he comes to me one day, all kind of hot and bothered with a handful of zip ties. And he said, "The inspector's coming. He came last week and the fence on that was down on the ground and mud was washing off site. He's coming back this week. And if it's not up and fixed, he's going to give me a $5,000 fine." And I was like, "Ooh." So I go, I fix the fence. And then I come back at the end of the day because I was like, "This is way better than trash." And I go into his job trailer and he said, "Did you like doing that?" And I said, "Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad." And he says, "I can never get that guy to show up. How would you like to start doing it from now on?" And that day I became an environmental guy, is what I like to call myself. And over the next year or so, we dropped the trash angle, and then we found out that the environmental angle was a pretty big scalable operation.
Well, and there is something to be learned in that, and unfortunately there are a lot of kids who haven't figured this part out yet because they're still learning. But if you show up and you work hard, good things tend to happen.
Right. And say yes.
Yeah, exactly. Say yes, but the big thing is to show up, because a lot of people decide, it's a nice day, I want to go fishing or something today, and
Right.
so they don't show up. And so if you're reliable and you show up and you don't quit and you say yes, you can do quite a lot in this world, can't you?
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. And the story goes on, and it's so cool to just look back now as if you're driving a boat and looking back at the wake. It's so neat to watch. Because in that same builder, he comes up to me about, I don't know, 6 months later, and he says, "Hey, I've got some bad news and some good news." And I'm like, "John, I can't handle bad news. I don't have any margin for bad news." He said, "Well, the bad news is I'm quitting my job." And I said, "Well, I guess, I'm pretty mad at you right now." And he said, "But the good news is I'm quitting and going to a competitor. The guy taking my spot wants to keep you, and I'm taking you with me to the new competitor too." And that's how my expansion went. Like I can't even claim any genius. I just worked hard and showed up.
Well, but see, you were then being mentored by a man who recognized your value and your worth. And so over time, and to fast forward 20 years, you ended up owning a construction company and having 120 people working for you because of all the things that you learned and worked hard. And when you show up and you work hard, they tend to give you more responsibility and more things to do, and then you can increase your skills. And I mean, that's how when I was at the graveyard dishwasher at Denny's, I then became a busboy, then I became a host, then I became a waiter, then I became a cook, then I went to the opening team, and then I was an assistant manager for them. And so it grows but the key is, kids, you gotta show up, and then you gotta be there on time and be ready to work. And so over time, you gained all of these skills, not the least of which was your financial skills. And that's what we're going to talk about, because now you have morphed from the construction industry to creating your own program called Your Money Essentials, and it's yourmoneyessentials.com. Go there, because he's got we haven't talked a great deal, but I've been through your site a great deal, and I love the fact that, number one, you've got this coaching program, and it's affordable, and it's affordable for people so that they can learn all about money. And because I don't know how it is, Philip, where you grew up, but where I grew up and where my kids went to school, they don't talk about money or how to balance your checkbook or what is compounding interest, for crying out loud, and all of those things. And so, and by the way, Samuel, who's in Kenya, and he always pops in to say hello, and he has a program where he feeds 400 children every Saturday. And you talk about having a budget. He is in, well, greetings, brother Kevin and guest Phillip Lanier. We're watching and listening live from Kabiria slums in Nairobi County. Thanks, brother Kevin, for highlighting our weekly feeding program. No child goes to bed hungry.
Wow.
Isn't that, and that's the kind of people that we love to talk to here, like yourself, because you recognize. Well, let me ask you, your essential or your money essentials, how did you decide to get that started? Is it because you saw the need?
Wow, you're really good at asking these questions. I can tell you're good at what you do, Kevin. So, I ended up, just to go back just a little bit to help out. I rode the wave. I started my business in 2003. I rode the wave up in 2006, kind of thinking I was a genius by this point.
Of course.
And then I rode the wave right down in 2008 and thoroughly learned that I was not. So that's when I started my career of reading everything I could find. And we were able to scale it up and sell it to a PE firm, which was never my intent. It was actually a shock. So I sell the business. I then do some crazy things. I buy a catamaran and sail it down to the Bahamas. And then I'm like, gosh, we're not contributing to society. So about a year later, we come back to town. We moved to Charleston, South Carolina from Fort Mill, which is just south of Charlotte. So we moved to Charleston. So a year and a half ago, I'm walking around the block, and my life is what they call the American dream, but I would go get coffee with a friend, go to the gym, grill out, go get coffee with a friend, go to the gym, grill out, and repeat, right? Which I should be in better shape than I am for that. But I'm like, I'm just talking to God, and I'm like, why am I, like, there has to be more than this. Why do I have this knowledge, this wisdom, this things that I had to learn to grow the business? And I'm not supposed to do anything now at 47 years old, or 48 by now. And so I was walking around the block and I was listening to a podcast. Shout out for podcasts. And this guy, it wasn't the point to his rant, but he was on this big rant. And he said something that just blew my mind. He said, "You can't learn from what you're embarrassed about." And Kevin, I immediately stopped my earbuds. It was these. And I just walked around the block in silence. I had never told anybody. My mom had me when she was 16. I never told anybody that my dad was addicted to the cocaine and everything else. I had never told people that I was, homeless at one time. I never told anybody any of that stuff. I was embarrassed about it.
Well, sure.
And I was like, what do I do with this information? The next day, I'm listening to Ed Milet, which is a podcaster. I think he went left coast to right coast. And he said this sentence. He said, "You're most equipped to help the person that you used to be. You're most equipped to help the person that you used to be." And those two thoughts just came together like a storm. And I went back to my kitchen island and I just started writing how I got from where I was to where I am today financially. And then I thought, but everybody knows how to subtract 7 from 10. And there's budgeting guys. There's one big major budgeting guy out there. So what is the difference? What is the difference? And I realized this mindset changes. Like there was a time where if I had $20, I would have never put it into the tank of gas. I mean, you need some money to survive on food and just in case and what if. So you put $3 in gas, right? And things like that. So I just started writing down the mindset shifts along with the different levels of money, and it's mind blowing. That's my really long answer to your question.
No, it's a great answer because I believe that when you had that conversation with yourself and you said, well, I need to do more. Why am I really here? And what am I really here to do? Well, the good Lord looked at you and said, okay, well, guess what? I'm gonna put some things in your way, some things in your head that are going to move you to the next level if you pay attention. And right. You did listen to the podcast, and that sent you on your mission, which you are on now. And by the way, you're listening to Positive Talk. Purcell's traveling today. Phillip Lanier is our guest, and we're going to come right back right after this. I want to tell you that what you are building, Phillip, is you're building your own legacy. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. You're writing your legacy in ordinary moments, in how you speak when you are frustrated, in how you show up when you're tired, in how you treat people who can't offer you anything in return. Legacy is not built in headlines. It's built in habits. One day, someone will tell a story about you. Make sure it sounds like love. Make sure it sounds like courage. If you believe the world needs more of that, listen and share Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Phillip Lanier is our guest today. He has a company, and he started it just a couple of years ago. It's called YourMoneyEssentials.com, and you can go there and get coaching about all things having to do with money, because I'm here to tell you, I have a relative, Phillip, that he cannot. It's not possible. He just cannot. If he has $2 in his pocket, he's got to go spend it on something. And as he's progressed through life, he's a mechanic. And as he progressed through life and he started making more money and more money, I said, boy, the problem is that it's not going to be that you're going to outstrip your needs by making more money. You're going to find something more expensive to buy. And so you're always going to be broke unless you decide consciously to make that decision to save your money and so, but he didn't understand interest. He didn't understand the budget. He didn't understand any of those things that are, and correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, but they're necessary if you're going to figure out how to manage your money effectively, especially in this day and age, because we're not getting any younger, and we don't have any idea in 20 years or 25 years what the Social Security system is going to be like and any of that stuff. So you need to prepare, don't you?
Right. Yeah, you sure do. And I know so many people like my daughter actually struggles with spending. I think I used to uh, for a very. I remember when I was like 16 or 17, I found Taco Bell, and that was a serious disease for me. Like because you could get 12 tacos for like $6 or $8, something like that. But yeah, no, you really do because you never know what's going to happen. And I think it became easier for us when we kind of found a mission, like a reason and a why, other than just kind of existing and spending each day, a mission of what we wanted to do. And I think that's part of the missing connection.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But see, when you were growing up, you didn't have a lot of money. And so it wasn't like it was a real disposable thing. I mean, when you ran across $20 that was in your pocket that you'd forgotten about, that was a big deal to you at that point, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. Yes, it was.
It's like, I'm rich. I got $20 that I didn't know I had before.
Right.
But kids that have got more money, they don't look at it like they need to manage it well. And managing money and your money essentials talks to you about that, and in the work that you do, which is really really cool. And by the way, Philip, I was watching some of you have a video there of some of the folks that you've helped, and it has to make you feel good that you are helping people figuring out that that it's not beyond them, that they can manage their money well. So if you manage your money well, then you have money. It's kind of a weird concept, but it's true.
It is, and then there's a lot of people that we speak to that think, "What's the point? I don't make enough. There's no point in trying," or "I've done this in my life. There's no point in trying." And it's just not the case. That's some of the most successful people. One of the ladies on that video, and I don't want to reveal which one, but she had a heroin addiction and lived in the woods on a piece of carpet for 5 years. And now she took the class, and not just because of the class. There was a lot of other things that happened. But now she manages a store with like 12 employees, and like there's nothing that you can do. We've had prisoners off of death row come through the class. There's literally nothing you can do that's not where you've done too wrong or too bad and not still be able to do well.
I gotta believe if you were on death row, that you'd done some bad things at one point in time, or were accused of bad things, and stuff. But so I got to ask you, Philip. This is when you were in between coffee runs and the gym. Did you have friends and family when you started bringing this idea up of creating the website and starting to be a financial coach? Did you have anybody say, "Well, why would you want to work that hard"?
I did because it took a lot of work, probably more than it would have taken for most people because I didn't I didn't have this skill to write and to I was more of the visionary in my company and things like that. I was the founder and I did the work early on. But so I had to, but I got very spoiled in the later years of my company because I was more of the visionary. So I could just say, "Ooh, let's do these things." And then there was a team that did it. And so when I started this, I was the team that did it. And like, if I didn't write or type, nothing got written or typed. So and I didn't have that skill. So people did say that, and even my wife would say, "So you're back to working like this?" And I'm like, "But look what this content is." And she's like, "Oh, that's gonna be impactful." And so I hope that answers your question. So yes, and sometimes your family doesn't understand. And I wrote a book called "No College, No Problem," and it wasn't supposed to be a book, but I was just writing a document for my grandkids because now I have three grandkids, and I just wanted them to know that they don't necessarily have to go to college and go in that track. There's a way to do it without that if you do it well. And it ended up becoming a book, but in the book it talks about a story, maybe year two in my business. Um, I was driving this big tractor, and I hope I'm not taking you off track too much, but I had this big
No.
tractor, and I hit a curb and flattened the tire because it bent the rim on the tractor. So the tire goes flat. It's like 6 o'clock on a Saturday night. I'm trying to get done so that I can take Sunday off. So I take the rim off. I take it to my grandmother's house. I'm wailing away on it a sledgehammer. It's like 95 degrees in this South Carolina humidity. And my grandmother comes outside, and she was a guidance counselor at a local college. And she comes outside and she says, with a good heart, totally in love, she says, "Why don't you quit this nonsense and get a job like everybody else?" I'm holding the sledgehammer and I'm thinking, wow, you know, and I just said, Gran, I'm supposed to do this. And so I beat the rim back into shape, get the tire back on. I go back and I finish that night. And so, but what I realized is even people that love us may not give us the best information. They just give us information based on what they know and where their limitations or thoughts or insecurities are. And so I don't know if that makes sense. And I probably
Yep.
answered more question than you asked.
No, that makes perfect sense because they don't know what's in your heart.
Right.
They know what they see, but they don't know what you're actually internally feeling and what you're feeling like you're being called to do something. And
Yes.
that is in my opinion, that's why I do this, by the way, is because I was called to do this. And 3 years ago or some silly thing. But if you're called to do something, then nothing really can stop you. And if you don't let somebody else tell you, "Oh, you can't do that. What's the matter with you?" You need, so I believe, and you are living proof of this. Everybody needs to follow their heart so that they can become who they choose to be and to be of service to who they choose to be of service to. Do you agree with that?
I do. Maybe I watched Rocky Balboa too many times, but I do. I really do.
Oh, there's a story around now because I saw that movie in the theater in 1977, and
Oh,
and
wow.
was so taken with it that I went to a professional boxing gym and started to train to be a professional boxer.
I believe it.
Fortunately, they took us to Monroe Reformatory, which is a prison in Washington, and we fought the inmates. And it was supposed to be an AAU thing, and it was supposed to be just kind of a nice, they would pair you up with somebody that had your skill level. I got killed, and but fortunately, I ended up breaking my cheek and having to have surgery. But that ended, and the trainer told me that he thought he could make me a world champion. So I would now be at my age, I'd either be dead or a world champion who couldn't put two sentences together. So that was part of my experience, but it was great for me not to do that. Anyway, that's my Rocky story. But by the way, we're talking with Phillip Lanier. He is going to help you. I'm really excited about telling you to go to his website, which is yourmoneyessentials.com, because he can help you coach you through a series of and we're going to talk about this when we come back, of how to manage different aspects of your money, from budgeting to saving to all kinds of things. And I just think it's phenomenal what you're doing, because I don't know if you noticed, but money's a little tighter now than it was, and costs are going up a little bit. I went by my gas station and gas was $6 a gallon just yesterday. So anyway, Phillip Lanier is our guest, and we are going to return right after this. So stay with us, everybody, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio Network. We're on a mission to entertain, enlighten, empower, and educate through inspiring music, dynamic conversations, and yes, laughter. Join me, Kevin McDonald, and Brashelle as we declare our freedom from hate, division, and fear, and celebrate a better way of living. Go to positivetalkradio.net to find out more. Here's another point to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. What is the easiest thing to justify? It is a small transgression, the one no one will ever see, no one will ever know. The tiny exaggeration on the expense report, the extra minute you took on your lunch break, the packaging you tossed in the wrong recycle bin because it was closer. In those moments, the question isn't, will I get caught? The question is, will I know? It isn't about avoiding punishment. It's a silent agreement you make with yourself when you choose to do the right thing, to return the wallet, to fix the mistake, to respect the empty space. You aren't impressing the world. You're earning your own respect. That small choice, made entirely in private, is how you build a life you never have to look away from. The only audience that matters is you. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and our guest today is Phillip Lanier, and he is would you call yourself a financial coach now?
Maybe. I think so, yes.
Own it, man. Own it, because you are.
Yes.
Because you've got a whole program. Tell us about how the program. I know you were sitting and in your kitchen, and you started having these thoughts and these ideas of how you could put this together. And what was that process like for you?
So, there's just a couple of popular people that have their courses, and one of them I learned quite a bit from, to be honest, quite a bit. But what I was realizing as I was digesting it is, like, how do you save $1,000 if you're trying to buy macaroni? Like, if your goal is to get enough macaroni for the week, how do you save $1,000? And then how do you save multiple months' living expenses? And I was just trying to break it down because, like, it just seems so insurmountable. Several of the systems out there. So what I did was I broke it down. We need momentum. Momentum. I remember in my company, momentum. When we had positive forward momentum, we looked better than we actually were. Because it helps you overcome some mistakes. So even just saving $50 or $10 or $80, just getting the small wins that you could actually digest and say, hey, I actually did this. And then why do we do that? Because one of the things we talk about, and it's kind of popular, it's been popular for a few years now, but I actually deal with our why. My why was I didn't want cloth walls anymore to live in. I actually wanted a house. I didn't want animals to be able to walk in. So my why was pretty strong. I wanted me and the woman I had chosen to be able to live in a house that had no wheels under it and no cloth sides. Um, and I also needed just a number that I could actually save instead of a number that felt so astronomical that I couldn't. And that's kind of step one is defining your why, because when the going gets tough, the why is the rope you'll grab to pull yourself out of the mud, because you're going to get stuck in the mud, and you need something that you can grab onto, either whether it's your kid's face that just seeing their face when you get a win, or doing it for your parents or for yourself, whatever it is. It's just so important to write down what your why is.
Your why is very important, because if you don't know why, you'll never do it.
Right. That's right.
It makes it really tough. So I had to laugh at my youngest son, because when my granddaughter was born, and I said, "Well, I'm putting a $50 a month into this fund that the state of Washington runs," and he said, "Oh, Dad, don't be silly. $50 a month, that's not going to accomplish anything." And I said, "Well, it's not going to accomplish anything in year 2 or year 4. But on year 18 or 20, when she's going to want that money, then it's going to, because of interest and growth potential, it's going to be substantial at that point. But if you don't start on day 1, you can't get to year 20. Am I right?"
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And so he still doesn't get it, and so I'm not telling him about it anymore. So I will have this little pot of money for my grandchild, and I'm hopeful that she'll keep it, and not go spend it, and keep it till you're 30 or you're
That's right.
35, because that could be enough for her retirement.
That's right. Down payment on a house, retirement, anything.
Yeah. So help me understand why so many people have got trouble managing money. Is it because we just don't understand? We're not trained in it, and that's what you're working to accomplish with folks? Because yeah, boy, have I got stories, but I won't. But when you're working with people, are you amazed at how, and what would you call it, financially illiterate? They're just not aware of how it all works.
Yeah, so it's interesting because if you think about now, I'm a Samsung owner, so but I'm going to speak to the Apple owners out there, the iPhones. So people have the iPhone, and it's a product, right? Whatever else, the TV they buy is a product, and what people don't understand is the most successful product ever marketed to mankind is debt. Like debt is actually a product. I remember when I went into the bank and I hoped I got a loan. I was actually hoping, and I was like nervous sitting in the chair, hoping they would give me their product and charge me great deals of interest on it. And I never thought about that in the beginning, but it's a product. They're going to loan me, just say $5,000, but I'm going to have to pay back 8. So I was hoping that they would have mercy on me and sell me their product. And people don't realize that debt is the most marketed product in America. It's funny because we had some friends that are doing some mission work down in Belize, and they asked us to come teach some lessons down there, and we did. And I had to completely rewrite the whole thing because they don't have the same system to where you can borrow money for a couch, borrow money for a lamp, borrow money for forks. They don't have that. And it blew my mind. I had to write a whole new program for that. And it was actually kind of fun.
And it really would be, because they have a wholly different lifestyle. And it's like, we were talking with Samuel from Kenya. They make nothing, $5 a day, maybe. And so managing their money is a matter of survival. there versus here where it's really not. But you're right. When you think about it, debt is a product, and they want to keep you on a fine line of giving you just enough debt so that you have to pay it off and you pay the minimum. And would you talk about that, please? Because I'm going to have my children listen, because whenever it makes my skin crawl whenever somebody says, "Oh, it's not bad. The payment's only $125 a month." What's your interest rate? Oh, I don't worry about interest rates. How long? Oh, I don't know. How much you're going to end up paying? I hadn't thought about that. So talk about that a little bit, Phillip.
So in lesson 6 is when I get the most, where the eyebrows kind of go up. Lesson 6 is our debt lesson. And I just put a chart up there. If you borrow $2,000 at 8%, what you end up having to pay back. And we put that in red. And they're like, I have to pay back $2,800. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't give you the money and let you make payments to get back to the even number. That their bank buildings wouldn't be quite so big if they did that. If you go into downtown and you see what's the nicest buildings, the banks and the insurance buildings. Isn't that interesting? And in lesson 6, I talk about how I went in and I bought, I went Jeep shopping. And I had no business Jeep shopping, but I just thought, that they can't get me. So I go Jeep shopping and I'm just looking at Jeeps. I'm just fascinated with Jeeps. And I start looking around and a salesman comes out and he says, well, which one are you looking at? And I said, I'm looking at all of them, and I couldn't buy one of them if I had to. And you know what? At the end of the day, 3 hours later, they weren't trying to sell me a vehicle. They were trying to sell me a payment. So I ended up where and that's such a key phrase. They don't sell people vehicles. They sell people payments. That's where the money's at. Because he ended up making 0 down and then a lease, because I couldn't even make the payment for the purchase. And I ended up upside down in my lease. And then I finally got into my business to where we could actually pay that down and get out of that. So yeah, that's, people don't realize they're being sold a payment. And later in lesson 6, I talk about how you and I hope to make 8 or 10% on our investments. And we call that good. But what we don't call bad is when we're giving the car guy or the couch guy or the whatever guy 8% on our couch or on our car or something. We're actually funding their retirement. And that it's like a flipped script. Like you hope to make 8 or 10, but we're paying 8 or 10, which means we're funding their retirements.
I couldn't agree more. And by the way, the car lease thing, in my experience, what they build it into the numbers so that you get to like 10 or 15,000 miles a year. And it's hard to drive that little, and with your car. And so if you get upside down in the mileage, and then they charge you some ridiculous thing like 30 cents a mile or something like that. So now they got you even deeper, because now you have to refinance, and then you have to buy the car and take out a loan to buy the car. So they have you coming and going when they do that. Is it, or was that just my example?
No. So what we did was we entered a game that they invented, and they wrote the rules, and we think we're going to win the game.
And that never happens. And you're right. That's why they got these buildings. They don't make them for free, and stuff. So it makes it really. So knowledge is king for where financial numbers are concerned, because you've got really, and a little discipline. Do a lot of people lack the discipline to be able to say, nope, I'm just not going to. I'll give you an example. I don't tell very many people this, but I have one pair of shoes because I can only wear one at a time. one pair at a time. So, and so if I need another pair, I can go buy another pair, but I don't feel the need. So, um, I don't. I'm what would be called a minimalist these days, but I've always been that way. But still, we don't manage our money effectively because we don't know how.
We don't know how, and we don't know why. It's interesting when we go to Walmart or we go to whatever big store. A lot of times we don't realize who's working there. Oh, it's the the. A lot of times it's the people that should have saved and either didn't, or something really unfortunate set them back financially. Um, so a lot of times you find people that are working past the normal working age, and it's because that either they had a terrible setback, family health, something like that, or they just didn't take it serious enough early on.
And I want to mention this because now that I'm older and I had to learn about Social Security and how it works. How it works is they take your top 35 years that you were an employee, and then the money that you paid into it, and then they average that out. They have a program to average that out, and that's what you get. But if you take 10 of those and you don't work, or you're just working part-time, or you're going to get less money at the end of the day. Am I correct in that?
Yes, I think so. I actually not researched that, but I believe that.
I know it to be true because I worked for 40 years and at a job at different jobs in different companies and stuff. And so I qualified. So my retirement is not as bad as it could be. Fast forward to where my brother was, he was a roofer. He didn't pay his taxes
Mm.
because he did a lot of things cash under the table. And he thought that was great at the time. But then when he went to get Social Security, he could
Mm.
only qualify for the minimum, which is hardly enough to even, you can't even rent an apartment on what you get for that. So money, and by the way, I'm sure you know this in your research. There's a lot of people that are getting into their late 50s and early 60s that have not started saving like they should have 20 years before. And now, when they get to be 65, there's going to be a real problem, isn't there?
There is, because if you look at what things cost now versus what they cost 20 years ago when some of the people were planning that are retiring now, the price difference is astronomical. And so, like, what's going to happen with interest rates and the cost of inflation and everything? Yeah, it's going to be serious. Like, people really need to plan for this, and that's why we enjoy doing this. Is we're trying to do our part in helping people learn and see why. Because sometimes it's hard to see past the moment when life is happening. It's just really hard to see past the moment. If you have a single mom or a single dad, or even a married couple, and you have kids, and trying to go on vacation. There's just a lot of life happening with all the news. Sometimes it's just great to have a financial coach or take a program just so that you can refresh, because life's.
It does. And sometimes it lies poorly. By the way, go to yourmoneyessentials.com. Phillip Lanier is the proprietor of that, and go talk to him. And if this has resonated with you at all, he's got a program that is not terribly expensive, but it can be very, very beneficial. And I think that you did it that way because of your sense that you want to give back to the people who could use it the most. Would that be true?
It is. So we priced it to where at any point in my life I could have afforded it in 1 week's pay. because I mean, it's priced at $59, which is three people going to Chick-fil-A, you know. So
I
like,
soon to be two people going to Chick-fil-A, by the way.
right, right. And I did that on purpose. So it's definitely not a money play for us. That's just enough for people to say, okay, I mean it. That's what we did.
And and that is an important aspect, because if you said, I'm going to give this to, I really believe in this and I'm going to give it to you for free, what you would end up, people would say, well, you get what you pay for. And so if it's probably not very good if it's free. And if there isn't an investment on their part to invest in themselves, to get better at doing something or to understand something better, then they're not going to take it seriously. And this is one thing that needs to be taken seriously. So, Philip, if I go to your website, which is again yourmoneyessentials.com, and I say, Philip, I need help, I don't know what I'm doing, and you're gonna help them, how does this whole process play out?
Okay, so there's classes that they'll be able to sign up for. They can grab us on and sign up for the newsletter, and we see each person that signs up for the newsletter. They can message us, and we're all over the socials. And if you message us or DM us on any of the socials, Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, we see it. I personally see it. So I made it set up that way because this is my mission. So some of the people that help me behind the scenes see them also, and then you can email me on info at Your Money Essentials, Philip at Your Money Essentials, and it goes directly to me. And that does create a lot of volume, but I'm on a mission. I'm not working a 9 to 5.
You're working a 9 to 9 at this point.
Right, right, and I do go to bed at night.
Yes, but the cool thing is, this is your mission and this is what you're passionate about, and you want to help people, and so therefore it's not like you're working. You're feeling like you're contributing to the betterment of somebody else's life, and there isn't a higher calling than that, I don't think. What do you think?
No, I believe no one, in my opinion, and I've heard it put this way, no one should pass through this life without causing an effect on the life itself. I believe that we're all put here on purpose, and I believe we should all find our mission and act it out. And I'm sure you've heard before, there's the two most important days in your life is the day you were born and then the day you find out why. And so, and it's just so amazing because even if any of your listeners, and you have a lot of listeners, if any of your listeners can affect one person, then you're affecting not just that person, but you're affecting the people that they're related to, their family, you're changing eternity there. So like, it's just so amazing to just be on a mission.
It's the ripple effect that you're not just affecting one person, you're affecting whole families, and sometimes
Right.
generationally.
Yes, I agree.
We're all here to live our best lives and to enjoy the time that we're here. But having a purpose is so important, and having a purpose of service is even more important, because we've all got skills. Use those skills to help somebody else. That's my opinion. What's yours?
I believe it. I'm still learning skills. I was a construction guy before I did this. Like, so we have skills just like there's things below the surface of the earth that we have no idea, whether you see old World War II stuff or Civil War artifacts just buried beneath the surface. There's all of that in each one of us too. And this isn't just inspirational hype. There truly is. Like if you look at some of the most influential people, they came from terrible situations and they rose up, and it's just so amazing that to be able to find things. And every person, God made zero mistakes. Every person has stuff in them to do it. I believe that with all my heart.
And they do. But sometimes, and many times, we need a coach. We need somebody to help us who is outside of our normal sphere of peoples, because a lot of times family and friends don't necessarily tell you the truth. They're not going to say you suck at saving money, dude, necessarily or have you looked at the interest rate? I'll give you an example. My oldest son, he said, Dad, I can't seem to save any money. And I said, well, have you written a budget? And he said, well, no. And I said, well, can I help you write a budget? And he said, well, no. And it's like, well, then what can I do? Nothing. And so, but somebody in his world, I said, go find somebody. Go find a financial coach. Go find somebody that can help you write a budget, because I know that's a step in your program. Is that step 3, 2, or which is it?
Please. It is to write a budget is step 4. Well, the beginning is 2, and then the to just get your 4 walls out, because a lot of people, I tell people to start with their 4 walls, food, shelter, clothing, and transportation, and then step 4 is where we flush out the full budget, but we try to ease into it.
Well, and I got it. So if somebody goes to yourmoneyessentials.com, they can reach out to you and you'll answer every email. Really? You're going to get too big, at one point. You're going to have a group of you.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, I'm so pleased that you're doing this work, because it is so needed, especially now when we look at an inflation rate of 2.5% and prices are going up 2 or 3%. It doesn't seem like a lot to be when it's 2%, but compound that month over month over month over month, it becomes a really big deal. And I want everybody to be financially well, but financial literacy is something that you learn. I wish they taught it in school. Why don't they teach it in school?
I don't know why I don't think the school system has been audited for effectiveness and updated. I don't think. That's my opinion.
Well, I tend to agree, because, living. I remember when I was in school, we had home ec. Do you remember home ec? I don't even know they have that anymore.
I do. I had to bake cookies.
I learned how to make a tie, and of course a lot of good that was going to do me washing dishes at Denny's. So but they never got a checkbook out. They didn't talk about the interest that you're earning versus the interest that you're paying, and any of that kind of stuff. So, and I feel so sorry for some people. I have a relative that they paid $55,000 for a fifth wheel 2 years ago. Today, and they're paying $500 a month. Today, they owe $53,000 because they front load the interest. Would you explain what that is?
That is a theft with paperwork. Is what it is. So they're adding the interest to the entire front of the loan, so that when they do, just in case you do refinance it, they got all of their interest up front, and also so your whatever you bought is depreciating already, so it's probably worth in the 30s, I would imagine, somewhere in the 30s. But so you're kind of stuck with them, because then if they get all of their interest up front, you're still trapped to where you can't refinance it with somebody, because if you tried to, you're going to try to refinance something where you've only been paying interest, but the thing is only worth 2/3 by now. So they can keep you keep their hooks in you. It's a terrible debt tool.
Forever. forever. I had a relative. He bought a Harley, and then he ran into some, and it was a $14,000 Harley, something he's always wanted, and he bought it on time. Well, unfortunately, he had just some bad luck, and he ended up losing his job, and so he went back to the same dealership, and he said, "I need to give this back to you," and they said, "Great." We'll take $6,000, or we'll pay you $6,000 for it. And he owed 12. But there's nothing he could do. So it's kind of like, legalized theft in a way, isn't it?
It is. It's their game, and they wrote the rules, and then we think we're going to enter into it and play and win.
We is wrong about that. So,
Right.
and by the way, Phillip Lanier has been our guest, and I want to thank you so much for coming here. You're going to have to come back, and we're going to dig deeply into some of these financial things because we can really help people. And I applaud what you're doing. That is just awesome.
Thank you so much, and I would love to come back and we can dig as deep as you would like. I love it, and I just want to thank you for what you do.
And I thank you for what you do. It's a mutual thank you society. So now, is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, if anyone's interested, if anybody curious about my business, it was just no college, no problem, and you can get it at Amazon or any bookstore, Barnes and Noble, anywhere. And it just lays out how I did it and how I grew it and the steps I went through. And then Your Money Essentials, we're just here to help.
And I just want to say this too. College is great. If you have got a desire to be a physician or a veterinarian or a lawyer, you have to go to college. But right now, if you want to be a bus driver, which I was for 12 years, and I made a good living doing it. If you want to be a truck driver, or if you want to be a plumber, an electrician, you can go to trade school. And you can have a very fine lifestyle doing those things as well. So don't feel like I get the biggest kick out of people, Phillip, that say, yeah, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get a degree in business. Well, how are you going to apply it? I'm going to go into business. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get it. So they end up in a low position, starting from the bottom anyway. And whereas if you go to trade school, you can become an electrician in 2 years. And I don't know if you noticed, you're moving into a new place. Did you have to have an electrician come by to check things out?
We did, and we don't like paying for that. Like all the millionaires that I personally know, almost every one of them are a tradesperson. It's just, it's hard not to make six figures if you're, or if you own the business, seven figures of being a tradesperson. It's one of the most, that's where the money's going. Like it's amazing and it's rewarding. I think it's wonderful. And back to what you said, I am so glad my doctor went to college. I would not want him shopping around for my parts when I go see him,
Exactly.
Massive bridges here in Charleston, and I'm so glad a visionary like me did not build those bridges. I'm really glad engineers built those. I wouldn't want to drive it across it if I built it. But for everything else, it might not be the best value to go to college unless it's something like that.
Exactly. And by the way, if you have to take out a student loan, you could end up paying on that student loan into your 40s or 50s if you take out too much. So anyway, Phillip, we got to talk about that next time, but go to his website again, which is yourmoneyessentials.com. Thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. I have as well. Thank you so much, Kevin.
And have a great day, everybody. And stay right where you are. I'll be right back. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.